We have so much high school football coverage for you every week. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have high school football coverage. On Thursdays, Michelle and I preview and predict all of Central Indiana's best games. On Friday, we hear from head coaches from around Central Indiana. And on Friday night, Saturday morning, as close to midnight as we can, we release our Football Friday scoreboard show where Michelle and I go over scores and highlights from Central Indiana and the best games from across the state and talk to coaches and media. Then on Tuesday, we have our football report where we will recap week 3. Again, talk to some coaches and media about what happened, name our offensive, defensive, and two-way player of the week, our coach win and team of the week, and name our Central Indiana Sports Report Top 20 Power Poll. Please join us every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for continued Central Indiana high school football coverage.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, high school football fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report and our Football Friday previews. This one featuring the Eastern Comets against the Delphi Oracles. And Michelle, the season could not have started better for the Eastern Comets.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to hear when we talk to Josh, we're going to hear that, he talked about that they kind of got off to a disappointing start last year. But if you remember, Greg, last year when we were talking about Eastern early as the season, those early weeks, I kept saying, be patient. Josh is a good coach. They replaced their quarterback, which was his son, who had started for like 4 years. So,
Right.
that's a huge piece, and it takes a while to get everybody on the same page. Well, by the end of the season, obviously they were on the same page because they won sectional, you know, and those guys, a lot of those key players in that sectional run are back this year, you know, and I think getting that week 1 thrilling come from behind win, kind of back and forth and winning that game in the final seconds for Eastern over Oak Hill, I think that was just a big, booster shot of confidence and for this team understanding that they could have maybe an even more special season than they had last year. Because the one thing Eastern hasn't done, I mean, under Josh, he's had some good teams that have gone through, the regular season undefeated or with just one loss, 2 at the most. But then they would get to sectional and they couldn't get it done. And they even had, and a lot of times couldn't even get to the sectional championship. Now, last year, they had they got off, I think they lost their first 4 regular season games. So they went 5-4 in the regular season, and then they put together that postseason sectional run. And no shame, they lost to Adams Central, who went on to win the state. So there's no shame there. So I think this year Eastern has the potential to make it a very special season where they have an undefeated or a one-loss regular season, and then can go and carry that over and maybe repeat as sectional champions. And I think that's what these kids have in their minds, and definitely I'm sure their goals.
On Friday night, Michelle, you and I will do our Football Friday scoreboard show, and this will be one of the games that we feature. But what a night in the Hoosier Heartland Conference. There are 3 games. All 3 have huge implications. Eastern and Delphi, of course, that we're talking about now. Taylor and Carroll, and Clinton Central and Clinton Prairie. 3 really big games in the conference early on.
The HHC has gotten stronger. In the past, you had when Sheridan has been in the HHC, because there were a few years that Sheridan, before they joined the HHC, they were in the Hoosier Conference.
Right.
And but since they've been there, Sheridan has kind of dominated Tri Central. When George Gilbert was there, they kind of and I think even maybe Coach Arnold's first year, it was Tri Central, and Sheridan, and then Eastern has had things in there, but Carroll, they were strong. Then they went through a downturn, and then are back. So, but they've never had. I mean, they've had some pop up teams, but I think this is the strongest that the Hoosier Heartland Conference has been from top to bottom in maybe a very long time, if not ever.
Yeah,
Which that bodes well for Josh and Eastern because it means they're going to get the challenges they need each week.
and I think they're probably the favorites at this point to win the conference. Although with Javion Harris at Taylor, it's hard to count them out. And of course,
Oh, it
Carroll.
is. And I know Carroll's right there, and Carroll's good enough that they can beat Taylor this week. They can beat Eastern down the road. I mean,
Sure.
they're good enough. But I really think it's a two-team race. I think it is Eastern and Taylor.
All right, Michelle, let's hear from Eastern head coach Josh Edwards.
Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Eastern head coach Josh Edwards. His Comets are 2-0. And not just 2-0, coach, but 2-0 against Oak Hill and Northwestern. A couple of 3A programs, not just that, but two of the teams on your schedule you most want to beat. What a start for your program.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. Big ones for us. The Oak Hill game obviously is a huge rivalry. I feel personally, out of the teams we play each year, the best and the most well-coached team. They may not be as talented as a Carroll or couple of the other schools, but I tell you what, they're the best coach team that we play in games 1 through 9, and that's no knock on anybody else. That's just a compliment to Coach Osmond. I think his staff is pretty special and got obviously a really good football program year in and year out. So for us to be able to get that one and, we squeaked it out, but we were able to get it, get a win against a 3A team off the bat. And then to go to Northwestern on the road, Coach Turnipseed's got a really nice roster over there. He's got about 60 kids on his team. And again, like you said, another 3A school coming off a 9-2 season. I was pretty concerned about that game last week, and luckily, man, our guys responded well and went over there and handled business.
That's that's another one that you have circled on your calendars, I'm sure, of this is one we really, really want to win.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last year they pretty much took it to us at our place. Coach Small was there and really had things clicking for him. And, we had a pretty good roster last year, but we just were not playing well those first 4 weeks. And we weren't playing our best football at the beginning of the year, and Northwestern was clicking, and they just straight up took it to us. And so that was obviously a game coming into this season that we wanted to, we wanted to try to right the ship. We knew we weren't as we weren't very good at the beginning of the year, but we knew we weren't as bad as we played in that ball game. So we really wanted to come out this year and try to erase that memory and put up a good victory. And I felt like our kids, defensively especially, from start to finish, really, really played well and executed the game plan well on defense. I felt like offensively, I'll be honest, I felt like I didn't call a very good game in the first half as far as the play calls go. And looking back on it, I was trying to force some things that we had worked on that I wanted to see work, and they weren't working, and I was being bullheaded. And so in the third quarter, I just kind of went back to what's our strengths, what are we good at, what plays do we run well, and that's what we did in the third and fourth quarter, and we're able to open the game up then.
Hey, Josh, how much did that really thrilling win that you got in week 1 against Oak Hill?
Yeah.
How much momentum from that game carried over through your week of practice and in preparation and into the Northwestern game?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, that's like I mentioned, that's one of our most difficult games of the year. And for us to be able to win it the way we did, right? You walk out of that game and you're just exhilarated and you're excited, and it does carry over for sure. We had a really good week of practice. And I wouldn't say it was our cleanest week. I mean, we had good energy though. The kids were working hard. Last Wednesday I wasn't real happy with our execution on our offensive day, but it was a good week of practice as far as effort and the kids' attitudes and things like that. So But yeah, for sure, Michelle, those wins like that do carry over. And so we had a good week, and we came out like we were ready to play on Friday. The kids were focused and dialed in, and we carried over that win from the previous week. And I felt like our kids just kind of built on that last week.
Coach, there are no easy ones on your schedule this year. Just replete with one tough team after the other, and that includes a Delphi team on the road, a place that's never easy to win. Your thoughts on the Oracles?
Yeah, I mean, I think on film you see a bunch of athletes is what you see on film. They've got some kids with some decent size, but that's not what pops out at you. What pops out is kids that can run, that fly to the football, that are aggressive, that play to the whistle and maybe even a little after. So they're going to play. They're going to play hard, and especially at their place. And so, again, that was another heartbreaker for us last year. We lost 41-34, had the lead right before half, gave it up, and just never recovered. And so this is another one, like we've got it circled. This is a big game for us, and we really want to come out and play well this Friday. But you're right; it's not an easy game. And then I'm not looking forward at all, obviously, because we got to focus on this one, first game in the conference, and then you got a red hot Taylor team coming in, and then the week after that you got Carroll. So
Clinton
our first
Central's
5.
unbeaten, then you got Sheridan, then Clinton Prairie on the road.
Yeah,
Literally
yeah.
not an easy one on the schedule.
There's not, and that's what I tell people about the Hoosier Heartland Conference is, yes, it's primarily a 1A with a couple 2A sprinkled in, but they're good football programs. There's a couple that are down right now. Obviously, we know, just from reading, you can tell programs that are struggling with numbers and those types of things. But I feel like, especially like you mentioned, Clinton Central down for a couple years, but coaches got them going now. They're starting to build. They're undefeated, as you mentioned. Clinton Prairie put up a lot of points last week. So yeah, there is no week where we can stand to lose our focus, lose our and what I was talking. I kept my seniors after practice tonight because, again, another good 2 days of practice, but I didn't like tonight's practice as far as execution. So kept the seniors after tonight and talked to them about being locked in, man. We got to be locked in. We were talking specifically about the classroom, 52 minutes of class, man. You got to be locked in for 52 minutes. Come out here to practice. You got to be locked in for 2 hours. And how, after this week, we're 33.3% done with our regular season. And some of you are never going to play football again. So, and that's very important for us because, as you mentioned, Delphi, tough team, Taylor, tough team, Carroll, tough team, Clinton Central. I mean, it doesn't get easier. So our guys, I'm hoping they're listening to me because, we have to come every week ready to play, or, somebody could set us on our butt.
Hey, Josh, I'm going to ask you this because you started at Tri Central, and I know you fought a numbers battle a little bit when you began your coaching career there.
Sure.
How hard? I mean, hearing their situation this year, how does that make you feel?
It's heartbreaking for me and my wife. Like, I'll be honest, it's sad. It's very sad. We like you mentioned, Michelle, we battled numbers, but we were always around 30. You know what I mean? We always had around 30 kids, which is not good, but nowadays it actually is. You look at a lot of teams, they're carrying low 20s and mid 20s, and a lot of teams be happy to have 30. But back then I'm like, man, 30 guys. But the fact that there's just not the interest in the game of football is heartbreaking. And for me, it's where I cut my teeth and, obviously cut them the hard way at the beginning, learning how to coach and learning how to work with kids. And, but yeah, it's sad, man. And it's got to be sad I've got a former Tri Central coach on my staff this year, Jason Toll's helping me out. And, we've talked a lot about it. He coached with George when they won the state. And just to see the numbers, ago? 2013, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So just to see the decline in interest in the game of football is what's really sad. And I hate it for the kids there. And I hate it for, the athletic department because, let's be honest, football is big revenue. It's big money for your athletic department. And you've got football and you've got basketball. And so you lose a football season, you're losing a lot of money for your athletic department as well. So I hate it for everybody involved. It's sad for me. Yeah.
Hey, and so who have you replaced? Did you find someone to replace them on your schedule?
Not as of now. We are working hard. I've emailed about every school. I'm looking Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, and Kentucky is right now the schools that I'm emailing. Home schools, anybody I can find. There are a couple of possibilities in the state of Indiana I'm not going to mention names because it's hearsay as of right now, but there are some schools that may be folding throughout the season, which would open up some potential games that we've reached out to schools for. But right now, week 7 is open for us, and again, for my guys, being selfish, thinking selfishly for my guys, I don't want them to lose a football game, especially when
No,
you're only guaranteed 10, right?
Right.
sure.
So we're working hard. We're going to try to find a game, and if we have to travel a couple 100 miles or whatever, we will. Or if somebody wants to come here, we're going to try to figure something out. I actually did that one year at Tri Central. We went to Lima, Ohio, and played Lima Central Catholic
I remember
because
I went.
you did go.
Cool
Okay, yeah.
place.
So it was It was cool. It was a cool.
Yeah.
That school paid for 2 charter buses for us. They fed us. Great people. They kicked our butt. you know,
They
but
can
it was a
play some
fun
football over
experience.
there.
Yeah, they sure can. And I think I looked at the schedule and I'm like, oh, they were 500 team the year before. Well, it's Ohio. So, but I remember we returned on the opening possession, returned an interception for a touchdown, took the lead 6-0, and then I think it was like 55-6 is what the final was. But so we're looking for opportunities like that. I don't want our guys to miss out on a game because again, football, the season is, you got 10 chances, max or minimum. So I don't want them to miss out, but if they do, they do. We'll figure something out.
Coach, everybody who follows your team even a little bit knows about Gibson Eagle and Toll and your son Abe and yeah, Caleb Hurd, of course. Tell us some of the other players who stood out for you through 2 games.
Yeah, man. I mean, so really, there's a couple guys who have just, man, popped out this year, and one of them started to really do well at the end of last year, and that's Bentley Hollinger. Um, he was had a broken collarbone at the beginning of the season last year. He had Tommy John surgery and had to miss baseball season and got healthy from that right in the middle of the summer. So he really didn't start clicking until about midway point of the season last year. Actually had the interception that helped us beat Rochester at the end of the game. He has just been on fire the past 2 weeks, both defensively and offensively. He's one of my wide receivers and defensive backs. And then another guy is Richard Bickle, one of my offensive linemen who played receiver last year. And I challenged him last year. He played linebacker for me. He started last year. And I challenged him, hey, I want you to put on 20 pounds of good weight. And so I've got him in class in my strength and conditioning class. And he's up 18 pounds now. He's up to 198 pounds. And he's looking good and he's physical and he's fast and he's flying to the football. So I would say he's definitely another guy who's really popped out. And then Cody Tarr, the sophomore, another guy that's just you watch him play, he's a gamer, man. I mean, you watch him, he's just like, yeah, that kid's a good athlete, but he's got a different game speed as well. When he catches the football, he accelerates. He makes moves that you wouldn't expect him to make, and he's been huge. He had a big interception for us last week, took it down to the 2-yard line, and another guy that's just really, really done a good job for us. And I feel like somebody who played JV last year and is now my starting center is Josiah Height. Only played football since he was a freshman. He's originally from Africa. Mom and dad adopted him and played soccer his whole life, and then came to Greentown and started football as a freshman. And now he's our starting center as a senior. Played 3 years of JV football, but again, another guy that bought into the weight room and has had a really good start for us on the offensive line. But those are some guys that have really popped out on film for us.
I can't believe Isaiah Pickett wasn't on the top of my head, Coach.
Well,
I
yeah,
just blew right by a guy who ran for 200 yards last week.
Yeah, no, I just figured that he was a given, right? Like
You're right.
he was a 1,400-yard rusher last year, and
Right.
I think he's got 5 touchdowns so far through 2 games this year, and on pace for a 1,200-yard season. So, but yeah, Isaiah obviously is one of the guys that we count on, and then our backup running back as well, Tristan Elmore, who started at corner for us last week, and I think had 9 tackles at the cornerback position, which is unusual. So, but yeah, so we've had, again, a lot of guys that have stepped up, and we knew we had these guys, and we were very excited about this year, especially about how we finished last season and only losing a few people. But I'll be honest with you, we are not playing very well offensively right now, and so that's my main concern, and that's why I get so frustrated on Wednesdays if it's sloppy. We scored 44 points last week, but it wasn't clean, and we're leaving a lot of points on the field. So once this team gets everything cleaned up front on the offensive line, and we get more disciplined in our route running, I think our offense is going to be pretty potent as well.
Michelle, coaches are just never happy.
No. Coaches know their kids should never be satisfied with their
That's
teams
right.
because you don't want to be at your best weeks 1, 2, or 3 or
Beat
4.
Oak Hill, beat Northwestern. All the coach sees is the sloppiness.
Well, we've talked about complacency. That's what we started the season talking about, is being complacent, being happy that we won a sectional. That's awesome, right? But again, we were tied 7-7 with Adams Central going into the fourth quarter, so we are not far away from being a pretty special ball club. But we're not going to do it with procedure penalties and holding penalties and those mental mistakes. And so that's kind of what we're trying. I'm trying to really press on them. I make sure they know that I'm proud of them and I love them, but at the same time, high expectations, high standards equal high results. And so that's kind of what we're pushing for right now.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks
All
as
right. Thank you.
always.
Yep. Bye.
Bye, Josh.
All right, Michelle, we heard from Coach Edwards. What is your prediction on this one?
Oh, I think Eastern will definitely win, like maybe 28-14, and they may even score, more points. But again, kind of like the Mississippi Oak Hill game, it's going to be at least 2 scores. I think it could be 3 to 5 scores that they beat Delphi, if not, or they could end up turning it on and ending that game early in the second half. Put a running clock on it. Eastern is just, that's how explosive that offense has the potential to be with the weapons that they have.
And Delphi's a pretty good team, so you're not just they're not. It's not an easy win. That's more of a statement about how well Eastern has played. And when
Oh
you
yeah,
beat
because they have that
Northwestern,
balance.
sorry, when you beat Northwestern 44-14, it's hard to doubt them anymore.
Oh, definitely, because they especially have that balance. Gibson, a great quarterback. Pickens, he's a running back that
Mm.
he wears defenses down. The kid is really strong. He's hard to bring down. He's powerful. I really believe he's at his best in the fourth quarter. And then you've got Owen Toll and Caleb Hurt. Um, that are with speed, and weapons. And Toll can do a lot of things. He can catch the ball. He can run. He can run the ball. And Hurt has turned out to be a pretty good wide receiver. Is a good wide receiver. So they've just and you can't forget his son at linebacker on defense.
Right.
And I think maybe that might be what's overlooked about Eastern the most right now is defense. Their defense is pretty good and is only going to get better as the season progresses.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.